Hello everyone, welcome to GB Bricks. In today's video I've got a review for you of the recently released Batmobile, the 1960s classic TV Batmobile. Now this was a set that I was very much looking forward to. I'm a big Batman fan. I grew up with the 60s show. I remember watching it at my nan and granddad's house when we used to go around there in the holidays, and I was very eager to see exactly how this would look once put together. Now my scoring system is based on 5 areas. You have the building techniques used for a particular set, the building experience itself, you have the minifigures included, you have the aesthetic look once all said and done, and then you have value for money based on Lego's RRP. So what did I think of this set? Well, let me tell you. So we're going to start with building techniques then for this, the classic TV series Batmobile, based of course on the 60s TV show. And there are a number of good techniques used within this build to get the classic angles and curves and that sheen that is representative of the source material. Let's start then here with these particular curves. These are caused or created via clips. There are 6 clips used, in fact 7 I believe, sorry, allowing obviously for you to get the angle just right, and it does stop at about a 45-degree angle naturally when you push it up, which does give that nice classic look of the Batmobile itself. There are also some nice techniques used at the front to get the curves here on the grille, and these are created using almost like fender pieces from smaller Lego sets to get the angles just right. And there's a lot of studs not on top work used here underneath, again to just smooth that off and create that iconic look. The build itself consists of using a lot of Technic pieces early on to create the spine of the car, and then you will cover a fair bit of that up with system pieces before returning to Technic about halfway through the build. Around about bag 10 I believe it was. There were 17 bags in total, not including bags for specific pieces such as the windscreens. And once you've built a secondary layer of Technic, you return back to the system, adding a lot of tiles to get this nice sheen to create the look of the Batmobile. And they did do a fantastic job, it must be said. Moving to the back of the car, you can lift up the boots and you'll see inside there you have the mobile crime computer ready for Batman to spring into action and solve any crimes. And there's a decent use of stickered pieces there to recreate the wires that are needed to power such a unit in the back of your car. I did really like the build for the seats. I thought it was actually very clever. Basically what is used is masonry bricks, black masonry bricks, the other side of the brick that gives that kind of wood paneling detailing, and they are used to create almost mock leather upholstery for the 2 seats, the passenger and the driver seat of course. There are a number of stickers used within the interior on the dashboard to highlight a number of the different buttons and gizmos that the 60s Batmobile was well known for, and it is quite a sticker heavy set I must say. I think there were about 40 stickers in total. In fact, as you're looking at this model now, the only bits in terms of design motifs that aren't stickers are the Batman symbols on the wheels. The 4 of those that you get are printed. Everything else that you see that you could potentially think was a print isn't, it is a sticker. And there were a few fiddly bits as well. The parts here that I mentioned a moment ago, these parts with the clips, they do fall off quite a lot. Obviously once it's built and it's on a shelf, if that's what you're doing with it, it's fine, but I did find these fell off 3-4 times during the build process, and they do go on fairly late into the build. They are quite unstable if you are having to do anything fiddly with the model or move it about at all. For example, earlier when I was trying to lift the boot up, the take you didn't see, these fell off just turning it around and holding it in my hand to lift that boot up. Another possible downside to the technique itself is the fact that turning the steering wheel doesn't control the front wheels. So if I show you now, if I turn the wheel, I mean the wheel doesn't really turn at all. There's no mechanism in there, it's not connected to the front wheels, so they don't turn as you would find in similar size sets that were built exclusively from Technic. Moving on to the building experience then, and I will say that it is a joy to watch this thing come together. I don't build cars very often in Lego, not to this scale, aside from Batmobiles, to be perfectly honest. Technic is something I don't really use much anymore, not exclusively Technic anyway, and I always do enjoy when you do have a Technic endoskeleton, if you like, inside any sort of build and then build system on top. I do love to see that kind of come to fruition. There is some repetition in the build. I mean, you'd have to expect that. Anything where you have any sort of symmetry in a Lego set, you're going to get repetition, of course. And here, once you've built the left-hand side of the vehicle, of course, you'll be repeating the process on the right. It's not too bad though. I didn't find it annoying. It's just, it is what it is. There is a little bit of repetition. Other parts that hampered the experience for me personally, but might not affect others, but I will mention them anyway, is that the instruction booklet itself isn't one where new pieces are highlighted as you're building on top of the old pieces, something that Lego have done sporadically in the past. And because the majority of this set is black, it was very hard for me to see exactly where new pieces were being placed for each new step. This won't affect some people. I am colourblind, not that black affects that, and my eyesight's not 20/20, so there is that. It may just be a personal thing, but if you have such issues, then it may be worth noting. And I also didn't enjoy the process of the stickers in this particular build. Now, I'm not hugely against stickers in general. I don't mind them in sets, as long as, in my opinion, they add to the experience by adding details that aren't necessary, but enhance the overall look once everything is built. With this set, I just feel there are too many essential stickers that are quite difficult to put on. So ones like, the bat symbol on the side here, the door, isn't an issue for me. That's quite an easy add. And most of these ones here, the labels, for example, of the various gadgets, they're fine, they're quite standard to add. The ones I took issue with, there were some that you needed to place onto angled bricks, sloped bricks, for example. I never enjoy that. And also these ones here, I was building this with my wife. Now this is partly my fault, but it's just, again, it's something I don't enjoy personally in a building experience, is that she gave me the bricks that we needed and said, stick a 4 and 14 on these two, please. So I stuck them on, as you generally would with Lego, which is centering them or just kind of going around the edge of the brick, leaving a bit of a gap in between to make for a nice clean input of the sticker. But it was one of those cases where actually it needed to marry up with a black brick being put next to it as an extension of the black onto the red. Now, had I been doing this on my own and looking ahead to the build process, I would have realised that and put the sticker further down to hide that red. Because I was kind of being instructed, I didn't do that. But aside from all that, I don't really enjoy when you have to put stickers that close to the edge. So that did, again, just mar the experience a little bit for me. Moving on to minifigures now. Now, I do want to say before we start, as this is the first review on my channel, just to make it clear, if you ever see one of my reviews again, I'm not going to be judging the minifigure section on how many minifigures are included. I see this a lot. A set's £50 and people say, well, it's £50, it should have 5 minifigures. I would have liked 5 more. I would have liked, that's not what I'm saying. In terms of minifigures for this section, it's how appropriate the minifigure is, of what standard the minifigure or minifigures are, and whether the budget was used appropriately in how many figures were added to the set. Should there have been more for the price being asked, or if there aren't, was that money clearly used on the main build? And if that is the case and it's done well, it will still score highly, because I think that's a good part of the minifigure process, is how many are actually necessary. So sorry for that, a bit of waffle there, but just so we're all clear. So now let's have a look at the minifigure himself, being Adam West's Batman, of course. Now in terms of the costume and the printing, it's very accurate to the source material as far as I can remember. You got the bright yellow utility belt there, the bat symbol with the yellow printing, that's of a good quality, and the symbol itself looking as it did in that show. In terms of the cowl, he has his white eyebrows and the white on the nose, which again is appropriate for the TV show. It's a two-sided minifigure. You have a happier face and a more stern face, and whilst you can take the cowl off, of course, to account for the whites of the eyes, it does mean having white printing on the top of Bruce Wayne's head, something that doesn't happen with the newer minifigures for Batman. In some of the more expensive sets that do add the white to the cowl itself, to the eyes itself, they haven't taken that particular route here. It does have one of the newer moulded capes, which I think is a nice new addition to the Batman figures as and when it appears, and it comes with a Batarang accessory, as you can see there. You also get a small build to place Bruce Wayne, or Batman I should say, on, being a gargoyle. This is the same build that's been used in the other large Batman sets, or Batmobile sets, being the 89 Batmobile and the Tumbler, and it's a nice little display piece to stand your figure on. It does its job and serves its purpose quite well. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's not just about how many figures you get, but I will say in this case I do think they've missed a serious trick in not including a Robin minifigure. I wouldn't say that just as a general fault, you know, oh, they should have put Robin in, or they should have put this in, but in this particular Batmobile, the 60s show was just as much Robin as it was Batman. It was very much a team, more than any other iteration of Batman that's been on the screen, I would say, where generally he works alone. And I do feel that they should have included the Robin minifigure. Of course, you know, even just looking at this Batmobile, it's a two-seater. Everything about it screams partnership, duo, and that's not the case here because Robin isn't included. In terms of the aesthetic then, I do feel they've done a fantastic job in getting the charm, the general look and the tone of this Batmobile absolutely right. It gets all of the parts that you would expect from the show. It includes all of the little Easter eggs and nods in terms of the crazy gadgets, and the colour scheme of course, which is iconic with that red shining through the black, and all of the curves and angles really do give the look you would expect from this particular vehicle. I don't feel any of the grievances in terms of the wheels not turning or a lack of a door, for example, affects the aesthetic. I think it still looks just as good had they been included or not. But in terms of display, obviously the lack of a Robin does hurt it there, and also the plaque that you get with it in this set is a sticker, not a print, as is sometimes the case with these larger models. Now, just having to apply the sticker itself is frustrating enough, but I did find that mine has bubbled slightly in certain places, and I don't feel that's a very good look. You can also see the anti-studs coming through from the back onto the front of the build, and that kind of shines through the sticker. Whether a print would have solved that problem or not, I don't know, but I do feel in this day and age getting stickers that large is a big no-no, and this should have been printed piece. And I'm not particularly happy with the overall effect of mine with those bubbles. There was nothing I could have done about it. I put it on as straight and as carefully as I could have done. When you're paying £130 for a set, I do expect better than that. Moving on to value then, and as I just mentioned, this set will cost you £129.99 as per Lego.com. In the UK, I believe it's $149.99 and euros 99 too. I do feel actually for this price, the general aesthetic once built does suggest very good value for money. I do feel the build experience was fun, albeit there were a couple of issues that I've mentioned already, and I did like some of the techniques used. In fact, things like using the masonry bricks for upholstery was an idea that would have never occurred to me, and it's always nice to learn something new when building a Lego set. In terms of size, if you have any of the other Batmobiles, I am able to compare it to the 1989 model here. You can see they're on shelves, one atop the other, and I do feel they match up relatively well, albeit that model looks more purpose built in terms of the car itself and the source material it's based on, whereas this is very much an existing car that has been turned into a Batmobile, and the bulk difference between the two is apparent there for that very reason. I do feel they still work well together and do match up well. I think I might switch these round and have this one on top, as it is a bit smaller, and then have the larger 89 Batmobile at the bottom. And again, it's just a case of the minifigures not really looking as symmetrical or uniformed as they would have done had there been extra figures in this set. I do feel that hurts the overall aesthetic if you are displaying more than one. To conclude then, I do think this is a cracking model, and I'm very happy that I've picked it up. I've been waiting a long time for this set, and I'm delighted with the outcome. There are a couple of little bits here and there that I would have liked to have seen improved, as I've already mentioned, so I won't go over them again. And I do think it's a bit over-reliant on stickers, and some of the stickers used don't work as well as I would have liked them to, and I don't like seeing large stickers used for plaques these days. I should hope that Lego have learnt their lesson with that by now and would have stopped doing that. Overall though, the 1960s classic Batmobile gets a total score of 83%. Thank you for watching my review. I hope you enjoyed it. This is the first review I've done on the channel for a modern set. I do retro reviews as well, albeit I don't score those. Is this a model that you've bought, or are you planning on buying it? Has this review helped you at all? Please do let me know in the comment section below. Thank you to everybody that's watched the channel so far. The response has been very positive, and I'm delighted to see the channel flourishing as we creep towards 1,000 subscribers. As of this video, I'm on about 560, I believe. Please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already, and until next time, happy building.